A bit scruffy today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to, as I say it every week, well, for the last 3 weeks anyway, and this is week number 4 of eSport Friday. Welcome to the novices' journey on what eSport actually is, how we can use it, how we can get involved in it, particularly for my generation, which is 50 plus just, and kind of will take it on a journey of where it's going to go into the future. And to me, Cam, it looks like the future involves real sport, for want of better terminology, and virtual sport colliding to create a single journey for many people. So the sports community resident, eSport guru, website guru, and all things cool, Cameron Usler, welcome back to eSport Friday.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. That was an intro, a mouthful. Maybe plan that one better next time, just so that I've got a good sounding title instead of like, oh, what does this guy do again? I don't know. Let's just make him sound exciting. Yeah.
Well, and let's be honest, it doesn't really matter what my feedback is. What's the feedback of your mum been like this week? How's she been finding the episodes?
I actually have not read the feedback that my mum gave me last week because it was quite lengthy. But no, I'm still getting it. She's tuning in, which is awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's good that we're I guess we're reaching an audience that doesn't normally know anything about this, which is kind of the point, isn't it? The idea is to try and breach the knowledge gap between people who know nothing about virtual sports and esports and people who know something about it, I guess.
Well, your good host today, my good self, knows absolutely nothing about it. And I guess, so which allows me to ask the most novice of questions. And the question I had to you this week, Cam, is whenever I see eSport coming up, there's, and I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but there's, the competitors have got headphones, they got microphones, they're talking to each other. I don't even know who they're talking to. What are they talking about? And there's people watching and communicating, but who are they communicating to? Are they communicating to the competitors? Are they communicating to the audience? So where I thought eSport was me playing you online. It's much more than that. It's a heavily engaged community. How does that work?
Okay. All right. Well, I guess maybe something to explain first is something that happens with any kind of live streaming platform, really. We'll give you an example here, and then we'll break down what we're looking at real quick. So this will have some sound, and we're looking at something that might look a bit unfamiliar.
Putting on some pressure as soon as he talked about it, and immediately stopped up.
But that sounds kind of familiar, right?
One breaking out from the Dignitas end, but I do think
bit laggy
over the top of his sport.
But that's basically what you'd normally find, right? You tune into a live sport, and you're hearing someone providing what you hope. What you expect is some form of expert opinion. Not always the case, I suppose. But in this case, this is, I think, last weekend, maybe a week and a bit ago, some high-level Rocket League play. But the other thing to look at, so we've seen the familiar with the unfamiliar, but on the right side here, we've got all of this text. So I'll zoom in a little bit. This is live. So this is live reactions to what is happening. Not the perfect example because these guys are all just trying to get free rewards. But it shows you that you can interact with what's going on in real time. So that's kind of something that you're talking about when you're saying like, well, what can happen? What can happen is that you can chat as someone watching. You can type something in there. And me as the broadcaster or whoever's doing it, if you're the club, you can see what they're saying and you can react to that straight up in real time. So you can be talking to your audience, which is not something you get with normal television.
So just picking up, I guess going back to our example last week, Cam, where we had the broadcast van, and that was the the technology, and we link the broadcast van to the audience, and we link the broadcast van to the game. So we televising, for want of better terminology, a nominated game via the broadcast van to an audience. So in this instance, then, is the people commentating, are they part of the broadcast team, or are they part of the participants? Or
it can be both, I guess, is the short response. For example, this guy here is doing both at the same time. He's playing the game while he's interacting and commentating to his 400 viewers. So this is live. This is happening right now. You see him kind of glance over when he's looking this way, which is kind of like what I'm doing now. He's interacting with the game, and then you see him glance down, and that's him looking at what his audience is saying to him, and reacting and talking to them, and talking about what's happening, and maybe what else is going on in their world.
Can you turn him on, and let's just have a quick listen to?
Well, you got it. This is the problem with live sport, right? It doesn't produce when you want him to.
He's just playing music in the background so that he's not commentating at the moment per se, but he
indeed.
Was it Malika?
Well, there you go. He's greeting somebody. What about your mate, the fisherman? Get him to load in.
Oh, well done, Lucy.
Extraordinarily has, what's he got online? 89 people just watching him fish.
No, 1,089.
1,089 people watching him fish.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And chatting to him while he does it.
Come back here, Lucy.
There would many think that there's nothing more boring than fishing, and I'm just stereotyping here. There's many who think there's nothing more boring than fishing. Now there potentially is watching someone fishing. Unbelievable.
And talking to someone fish. So he's got someone keeping him company today. But I was watching him a bit earlier, and he was having a good old chat with some of the viewers about some merchandise or some kind of 3D printing product or something, and he was giving someone else a shout out. So, maybe he's giving some fishing tips while he does it. That kind of thing. So
that's what. So you without wanting to turn him on, but he's potentially engaging with his audience as well while he's fishing. So in effect, he's not. I mean, even though in this instance he doesn't always fish with someone, in this instance he is. But so in one regard, he's kind of not fishing by himself. He's fishing with 1,000 of his best mates.
Yeah, I think the last time we just stumbled upon, I'm pretty sure it was the same guy. The last time we randomly found him, he was by himself and chatting to a bunch of people. So yeah, I guess it shows you that it's a very versatile platform. It's not just about Twitch, like live streaming itself. You can do a lot with it. It's a very key part of getting the most out of live streaming is not trying to pigeonhole yourself into just doing what you see on TV. You've got a platform that you can do anything with, and if you think that it's going to be interesting to people, chances are that it is. So, give it a crack. See if you can find some people that are interested in it.
And so, in no different to physical sport, what we're seeing now, and we're kind of seeing it live before our eyes, isn't it? We're seeing a community come together, 1,000 people unite behind a common interest, and then communicating with each other on that interest while watching the activity being undertaken. It's actually no different, is it, to physical sport? I mean, this is a physical video, but if we go back to your Rocket League or the basketball game, which is virtual, no different.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some good examples of I wasn't able to find them live, but there's a few football clubs that have existed and had some success with live streaming. There was, I think, an American FIFA 20, or it might have been a couple of years ago, so probably FIFA 15 or FIFA 16 or something. But the FIFA game, he was a big time streamer, and he ended up using some of the money that he had created, some of the revenue from his streaming and from his videos, to sponsor a real football club in the UK. And he ended up buying like the front shirt sponsorship of like a League 2 or League 3 team. And they named a wing after him or something. Like, it was quite a big deal that he'd invested in them so heavily. So the club that he was then a part of so heavily became linked then with his community. So they found a way to he was trying to give back in some way to a community sport, and they found a way to both benefit from that. So I think there's a real opportunity for clubs who already have a community and already have an audience to find another way to engage with that audience. It could be virtually, as we've been showing all these examples of, but it doesn't necessarily always have to be. So just because you've built this platform to be able to connect with your audience doesn't mean that you have to show them the same thing every week, every day. Like, it literally could be one day you could broadcast a training session. The next day you could have an interactive tournament with some of your players, some of your supporters. The next day you could be broadcasting a live match that you're having when we eventually get back to that stage. So there's no real limitation on what you can do, and having a good understanding of how it all works and knowing that there's no limitations will do you really well in that endeavor when we get there.
Yeah, one of the things, and I would like to explore this in future sessions, Cam, and I know that you've got some guests lined up for the next over the next couple of weeks, which is really exciting, with hopefully the Peak Sports body, and then potentially some team owners coming in and talking about the sports, the pure sport from their perspective. But one of the things, as I've just been dipping my toe into this area and just exploring, is the way that some I'm not even quite sure what the Twitch channels or individuals on Twitch that are very active, they're using PayPal to create a donation strategy or a tip jar type to fund them. And I thought that was really interesting. And this was 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago that I saw that, or you introduced me to that. And now, as we roll out in longer into the COVID period, we're seeing that methodology for fundraising being used by musicians that are hosting their virtual events. They're not charging admission, but what they're doing is kind of creating that tip jar, which using PayPal. So over the next coming couple of weeks, Cam, I'd like to explore that and just see different ways that people are using. Well, I guess they're generating revenue out of their audience, but to do that, you've got to create value for their audience. So it'd be interesting to see what the different options are for that, creating value because some of those people looking through the different channels are raising significant thousands and tens of thousands of dollars from their highly engaged audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like some of the highest paid Twitch streamers are making tens of millions of dollars, which is just ridiculous. From what some people consider to be just like some guy playing games. So yeah, it's a very interesting door to open, and that'll be a fun journey. You can actually just see here, this guy here. So that's a monetary value that's just happened right now. Someone is actually gifting tier 1 subs to other people. So they're paying money for other people to have a badge of honor. So it's an interesting way that it works. It's a very community orientated thing that they're not necessarily doing anything for themselves, but a tier 1 sub. So they work with subscriptions. There's I think 3 tiers of different monetary values that Twitch defaults to. I think one is $5 a month, one is $15 a month, and one is quite a bit more. depending on the community, it opens the door to different sorts of things. But yeah, we just saw someone there live as we were talking about it, gift some subs to other people. So there's a whole nother door of opportunity.
Well, I think what we might do, Cam, is we might explore this really in depth, and what does that mean in depth in future episodes? Because what that's saying to me is, like, if people are willing to pay to watch the Australian Fishing Channel and pay for other people to watch it, then what that means then is that if we had a really engaging series of content, if you like, about our club, as you said, different sorts of scenarios, then we can be streaming that worldwide and potentially growing the audience of our little suburban club, which, if you're, or let's say it's a small country town in outback Western Australia, that kind of lends itself really well to building this massive or significant worldwide audience that potentially might be looked to contribute to that club.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to something I remember hearing you say in a webinar. So hopefully I'm not peeling away too many secrets here, but about getting outside of your community to find sponsorship and fundraising, because there's no point in trying to hit the same people over and over and over again, because all that's doing is sharing the cost. It's not really raising anything, is it? So if you can hit a whole untapped community that hasn't seen anything that you have to offer by getting into the virtual world, then that's an incredible opportunity.
Absolutely. Cam, this is why it's my favorite time of the week. What else have you got to us before we head off for the week? But this is my favorite time of the week. Sorry to jump in, because I learned so much in the 20 minutes that we spend each week. I learned so much, and when I started this journey with you, I thought real sport, virtual sport, they're different, but they're not.
They're not always, are they? They can be. Absolutely. They can be very different. You can be looking at something that looks like something from another planet sometimes, but then you look at this, you're like, okay, this is some genuine car racing with, when you listen to it, some real commentary.
Leading at this point here, Neil. This is a game of cat and mouse. SVG.
This was just the other day. This is Wednesday night. Very, very entertaining. So I've been watching the. Oh, there you go. There's a good clip. These are some of the real drivers in the background flying the tray down the bottom.
This is the Australian V8 supercars doing virtual.
Yeah, so that's the Aussie V8 supercars. They've got a couple of guests every now and then. I think this is the last lap, so they're really hitting it. But so it's been a very the supercars have adapted quite well, I found. I've been watching the Formula One, the virtual Grand Prix, which I showed before, and just while we're on that topic, real quick, just showing you how you can kind of go beyond what your club is doing. Lando Norris is a real Formula One race car driver. Aubameyang is a footballer from England who plays for Arsenal, and they're teaming up to drive virtually in the virtual Grand Prix this weekend for Formula One. But watching that broadcast, I'd actually say the supercars which is, I think, going live to Fox Sports as well as the YouTube channel, or a bit of an incident on the last lap. A bit of a bang. It makes it quite entertaining, because I guess the ramifications, the consequences are quite different doing that virtually than doing it real. So people probably push it a little bit more. But yeah, I'd say that this broadcast is probably better. It's the balance is much better. The commentary is more engaging. The entertainment value is better from the supercars than what has been happening at the Formula One. So just thought I'd throw that out there, because it's something that the Aussies are seeming to do quite well. The supercars has adapted quite well to the changing environment, whereas I think the Formula One's been, while they got on it early, they haven't quite innovated with what they're doing. So they've just kind of done the same, and it's a bit more boring than this. This was actually quite entertaining. But yeah, hopefully we're learning. I know we trying to talk about community engagement. It's difficult to show when it's not live, but it's something that you can think about in the context of having a discussion with somebody. If you can get 20 people that you can have a conversation with, or 5 people, you can do that live. You can do that while watching a video together. You can do that while watching sport together. And then you can do that from anyone around the world can be engaging with you, and you can be engaging with them and promoting what you're doing and showing the world what your club has to offer.
Fantastic. Well, and Cam, we want everyone to be engaging with us. So I surely am not the only novice to esport out there. So if you've got questions, if you're like Emma Gallagher, Stacey Spear, I know watches religiously on a Friday as well. So if you've got questions and you're seeing things and you want us to explore, when I say us, I mean Cameron. You want us to explore and explain and learn together. Just put your questions into the chat. Doesn't matter whether it's while watching the live video or during the week. We love your questions. We love your feedback. And we certainly love your encouragement, telling us to keep going with the daily live stream. So really, really appreciate that. Next week is just a packed week of guests. So on the theme of really wanting to learn as clubs start to open up again, the best way to learn about how to do that successfully and more importantly safely is to actually get people that are doing it already, those that have gone early, in telling us about their experiences already. So yesterday we had Tim Bateman from the Dunes Golf Club. Next week we've got a soccer club, karting club, 2 karting clubs probably, I think. And then we've also got the Australian Sports Foundation to come on and talk about some research that they're doing from they desperately want club volunteers to talk about the impact on their club, so then they can use the results of that research to go and lobby for funding with the government for community sports. So, Cam, we've got a massive week next week, which is great, and I'll look forward to it. But before you go, is there anything else you wanted to show us today?
Oh no, that's it. That's it from me. I think next week we're also hoping. It's not in concrete, not in pen yet, but in pencil. Hoping to get the CEO of the Australian Esports Association as well. So it'll be exciting from the esports point of view.
Absolutely, and just tag him into this and tell him that we've already announced that he's coming on. And
yeah. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, got to commit him in.
Guests.
That's how I ended up doing this, right?
Exactly. That's how you ended up doing this is because I had so many questions and I thought, surely I'm not the only one. And as it turns out, I'm not. So, Cam, again, thank you. Until next week, have a safe weekend. Next week's action-packed. We'll put the guest list up on the Monday so you all know who's coming, and the clubs will give great value and great experiences. I've talked in depth with the karting clubs and in depth with them and was fascinated with what they did, but more importantly, what they learned, and most importantly, how their members behaved and reacted when they came back to their sport for the first time in 8-10 weeks. So until next week, Cam, great job today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of our sports community. And there you go, Cam. I had the button ready.